Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, back to Trump. 5 very different trends going in the positive direction. Now you spoke about trade. Yes, we are in the middle, hopefully more than the middle, of a very intricate trade negotiation.
Let's move to a topic that a lot of people in this room care about, which is the US-India relationship. The relationship between US and India has seen real momentum in the recent years with some major highs, but also its fair share of friction, such as the recent trade and tariff situation to student visa concerns. Looking ahead, how do you see this partnership evolving over the next 2 years? And in your view, what's your vision for this partnership?
I would say, again, I say this over multiple administrations, but particularly for the last 10 years, 11 years. If you look at the trend lines in India-US relations, I think the trend lines have been very positive. Just think back over the last 5 presidents of America. Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, back to Trump. 5 very different presidents. And yet, at the end of every presidency, if you were to do a dipstick on India-US relations, you'll find it's better off than it was at the beginning of that presidency. And the trend line over the last 25 years has actually been very, very strong. Because I think there are structural factors that work for the relationship. That the economics, the technology, the human bridges, the education, the security, the energy, all these are today drivers of the relationship. Now, are there arguments, are there differences, are there episodes? Sure, it happens. It won't be for the first time. Again, in fact, at every one of these presidencies, I can think of something which at that time was a friction point. I remember even the time when I was ambassador here. I literally came in a few days after we had a problem related to one of our diplomats in the city, and then I had to deal with 301 issues, with compulsory licensing controversies, with plans to sell F-16 aircraft to Pakistan. We dealt with it. So it's not, relationships will never be free of issues, even I would say differences. I think what matters is the ability to deal with it and to keep that trend going in the positive direction. Now you spoke about trade. Yes, we are in the middle, hopefully more than the middle, of a very intricate trade negotiation. Obviously, my hope would be that we bring it to a successful conclusion. I cannot guarantee it because there's another party to that discussion. But no question, we do think today that trade, there will have to be give and take. And just like the US or people in the US may have views about India, people in India have views about the US too. And we'll have to find a kind of a meeting ground there. I believe it's possible. And I think we'll have to watch the space for the next few days.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to a topic that you've spoken a lot about, which is the Russia-Ukraine situation. India has drawn both praise and criticism for its stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict and its assertiveness on the global stage. How do you balance India's national interest with global expectations, especially from the Western partners?
Well, it's one of those subjects where you are very tempted to say, I told you so. And why I say that is, 2.5, in 2022, when things were very different, when the public mood was different, when the debate was very different, we took the position saying, look, you're not going to be able to resolve this matter on the battlefield. That this is not, this is not the era of war. That there has to be negotiation, there has to be diplomacy between these countries. And in fact, initially, frankly, that was not a very popular line to take. Even when people spoke about diplomacy, it was more that you gather a set of countries to castigate Russia. I mean, that was their right. But the point was, it was not very helpful to getting a resolution of the issue. Now the world has come around. I mean, I've been in Europe twice in the last month. And what I now hear in Europe is an interest saying, yes, we need to sit down and talk, and we need to talk the sooner the better, which is fine. I mean, that's the position we have advocated. We also feel they need to talk directly to each other rather than, take positions which are in a way posturing or signaling rather than actually getting down to the brass tacks. So, at some stage this is going to happen. Now, I'm not sure that this passage of time, very frankly, has been helpful to the West. In fact, I would argue that, the longer it has taken, in many ways, many more issues have come to the fore, which were not there a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So, but that's water under the bridge. Today we are quite willing to do anything we can to contribute to that engagement process. And in fact, in the course of the last 3 years, we have fairly regularly, we've had conversations in Moscow, which we have shared with Kiev, vice versa. Whenever any other country or any other party has tried to do something, if we could be helpful to that process, we have done that. It could be on the grain corridor, it could be on fertilizer supply. The grain corridor was led by Turkey at that time. The fertilizer issue was led by the Secretary General of the UN. There was an effort to stabilize the nuclear power station in Zaporizhzhia. We worked with IAEA head, Mr. Grossi. So if there's anything we can do, we are willing to do. But, for us, a common sense way is to negotiate a solution to it, because quite honestly, there's no other way.
With growing calls to de-risk from China, how is India positioning itself as a viable alternative for economic and strategic partnership with the rest of the world?
Well, we are positioning ourselves, quite frankly, on our own. I mean, meaning for our own good. It is, to me, unthinkable that an economy which is the 5th largest in the world, which would definitely by the end of the decade be the 3rd largest in the world, not have a significant manufacturing base. Because if you don't have a manufacturing base, you're not going to get innovation and technology, which is a corollary of manufacturing. And if a country like us, with our human resources and talent, doesn't have that technology and innovation, honestly, we are wasting our human talent. So if I were to work this backwards, to me, in a way, our economic future and all the possibilities, when we speak about AI and you speak about EVs and you talk about space and drone and underwater, I mean, these are all within the realm of possibility. If we actually gear up to have the capability and the human resources, the trained human resources, and the culture of creativity and innovation to deal with it. So how do you do that? One, to frankly make the country easier to do business, which has been very much the focus in the last decade. To make it much easier not just for business, but for people to live, ease of living. You debureaucratize, cut down the rules, the paperwork. Try to create a modern infrastructure, which has been very much the focus of our efforts here, and where, in a way, I would argue, very big changes have happened in the last decade. If you look at some of the numbers, and quite honestly, if one were to even look at the comparative state of infrastructure, I think there's a lot to be said for what is happening in India. I mean, in the last decade, we have built 75 new airports, which is about 7 airports a year. We are laying roughly about 10,000 kilometers of roads every year, about 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers of railways every year. If any of you who's been to India and traveled on a train, I mean, I think you would recognize the enormity of that transformation which is going on. If one even looks at education, at talent exploitation, I think again, roughly you've had 7,000, broadly speaking, new colleges and higher training institutions which have come up in the last decade. So there is a very deep sort of churning which is taking place in India, much stronger capacities. I mean, pretty much in any sector, if you look at the first 50, 60 years of what we did in India, and you look at the last decade, we managed to double. And there's a very broad sort of estimate that I'm giving you. So we need to do all of that, because until you do that, you cannot emerge as a credible destination for global business. And you cannot then become part of the global supply chain. I think today we have reached that point. I see we have, if one looks at GCCs, really the explosion of GCCs in India today, and see the exports. I think GCCs today probably directly generate between 150, 170 billion dollars of exports. Or if one even looks today at how sort of relevant we have become to finding effective solutions in many areas. Digital public infrastructure would be one. Space would be one, where we would be globally competitive. Vaccines would be one. Pharma would be one. So you are actually seeing this emergence of India as a serious economic alternative. I accept that there is a lot to be done. I'm sharing this not to say, to me this is a kind of a takeoff point which we have reached today, and we are very hopeful that there's much more that could be built on this foundation.